A very good evening to you and welcome to RTV News with me, Fiona Mbabazi. Now, this Wednesday, Rwanda and Mozambique signed a memorandum of understanding that will allow the private sector on both sides to make use of business and investment opportunities available. We do have the details with Innocent Mugabo.
This Wednesday, the Rwanda Development Board hosted a delegation of Mozambican government delegates who came to see investment and trade opportunities in the country to encourage the private sector in Rwanda to invest in Mozambique. The talks culminated in the signing of a memorandum of understanding on trade and investment development, an agreement signed between the Rwanda Development Board and the Mozambique Investment and Development Agency (RPX). Niyonkuru Zefani, the Deputy CEO at Rwanda Development Board, explains the priorities in this partnership. This includes agriculture and its produce, not forgetting business and tourism. Another thing is energy, among others, that are all meant to develop the private sector. Tomorrow we are to meet with the private sector together with our counterparts from Mozambique to discuss more, but after we shall also travel to Mozambique to tell them more of what it requires to invest in Rwanda. The director of the Mozambique Investment and Development Agency says that both sides benefit from the partnership, but in particular encourages the Rwandan private sector to make Mozambique a major market.
We can bring investors from Mozambique that can also do partnership here, producing for export. Remember that we are part of SADC. SADC is South African Development Community. For those that would like to invest in Mozambique, they must have the regional perspective. They are going to invest in Mozambique, but at the same time, they will have opportunity to export in the neighboring countries, which are part of the SADC community, and also benefit for other preferential markets. We have access to many different other markets. For instance, the European Union, we have access to United States of America through the AGO. We have opportunity to Japan, and will be his investment promotion center. We will be there to assist, to provide them all the assistance that they need in order to invest and to take advantage of the opportunity that I've already mentioned.
Among the leaders of the Mozambique delegation in Rwanda are the Minister of Industry and Trade Carlos Alberto Fortes Mosquita and Omar Osumani Momade Meitha, an advisor to President Felipe Nyusi. The group arrived in the country after a recent visit by President Paul Kagame to Mozambique at the end of last September, where the two countries also signed an agreement on trade and investment cooperation. The Deputy CEO at Rwanda Development Board, Zefani Niyonkuru, says that the initiatives are in line with the demands of the two countries' heads of state visit. Presidents of both countries gave us the lead for us to make use of the existing good relationship. So it's time for us to put in actions what was discussed during the visit. Mozambique's envoys are in talks with the Rwandan private sector to encourage them to invest in Mozambique. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
Thank you, Innocent, for that story. Now, children across much of Africa are to be vaccinated against malaria in a historic moment in the fight against the deadly disease. Malaria has been one of the biggest scourges on humanity for the millennia and mostly kills babies and infants. Now, having a vaccine after more than a century of trying is among the medicine's greatest achievements. We spoke to medical expert, oral health expert, Professor Leo Mutesa, about this development. Having this vaccine after a very long time, I believe it is one of the breakthroughs that we've had this year. What does it mean for the African continent?
Actually, this vaccine is really a very big achievement for the continent because it comes after several years of research and failures. So it comes just on the right time where we still have the pandemic. I mean, the epidemic, which caused a lot of mortality on the continent. So this is really a big achievement, and we hope this will just change the way we have been just managing the malaria disease here on the continent.
Absolutely. We know that this vaccine has come at a time, of course, we had COVID-19 vaccine that was created at a very fast speed. But then how safe or how efficient is this particular vaccine that will be administered, especially because we know Africa was one, and sub-Saharan Africa especially, was affected by malaria?
Actually, this vaccine, when you look at the research outcome from this, the clinical trial for this vaccine, it has really respected all phases for vaccine clinical trials. So it shows a lot of efficacy and effectiveness, and it has been under trial for different groups of African population with malaria, affected by malaria. These groups including children, pregnant women, and also other adults who have been just affected by malaria. So it's really a vaccine with very nice findings, which are reliable. And of course, when you compare to the fact that it took almost 6 years to be designed, when you compare to COVID-19 vaccine, it's quite different because the technology for designing this vaccine is completely different from some of the technologies that have been used to design the COVID-19. Having said this, this vaccine is just a vaccine which has been designed based on the traditional conservation technology that we knew, which is the technology that used the virus or the parasite. In this case, it's parasite with the attenuated virulence or competence. That means that it can't really be harmful for the person. So, yeah.
So, Professor Mutesa, can we conclude or safely conclude that in the near future we could be having vaccines, say, for HIV and Ebola, saying that this has always been one of the biggest threats in Africa?
Yes, of course. Even for Ebola, we already have a vaccine from Johnson & Johnson, which is also being given to the population. But this is just to show that there have been a big step in technology for designing the vaccines. So in the near future, maybe we'll be able just to design other types of vaccines for different diseases that we have, not only malaria, Ebola, but especially HIV, which is also one of the bad diseases here on the continent.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir, for making time to be with us this evening.
Thank you very much.
That was Professor Leo Mutesa, who is a health expert, explaining more about the just made malaria vaccine. Now, the East Africa Local Governments Association, IALGA, has commended Rwanda as an exemplary country in terms of decentralization and how the country has helped the forum continue its activities compared to other member states. Sam Kalisa with the details.
From 4th October this year, Rwanda is hosting the East African Local Government Association IALGA meeting. The outgoing chairman of the forum, Gulam Hafiz Mukadam, says in the 5 years he has been in the position, if Rwanda had not stood for the forum and its activities, its operations would have failed.
I would say Rwanda is exclusively wonderful. It has been participatively and very active, because without Rwanda, the IALGA could have collapsed. Because of the funding. The Rwanda government was financing us, and it funded us, and now we are at the topmost peak of IALGA, that we have gone through that tough time.
Dr. Thomas Kurz, the German ambassador to Rwanda, whose embassy has continued to be a key partner for the forum, praised Rwanda's step towards decentralization.
Rwanda has made remarkable steps to enshrine the principles of decentralization through its administration. The establishment of meaningful decentralized structures and the delegation of functions to lower tiers of government has been an achievement. By increasing the level of citizen participation and socio-economic activities, Rwanda has improved access to citizen-centered public services.
The fact that the meeting took place at a time when the world is on the fight against COVID-19 pandemic also provides an opportunity for participants to find solutions for the region's populations to be able to trade between each other, as it used to be before the pandemic, according to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government, Samuel Dusengiumva. Inaugurating the meeting, Rwanda's Minister of Local Government, Gatabazi Jamalivian, highlighted the importance of the deliberations.
Discussions will be centered on localizing sustainable development goals in East Africa. Secondly, strengthening engagement with the East African Secretariat. Thirdly, local economic development as a driver for the East African trade and the regional trade. Fourth, the impact of the centralization and devolution systems in the East African community and the East African Local Government Forum, future priorities and perspectives.
The East African Local Governments Association Forum kicked off on Monday and will be concluded on Thursday. It focuses primarily on the role of these institutions in helping the organization achieve its goals even faster. Sam Kalisa, Rwanda Television News.
Medical experts say that due to the government's effort in the treatment of COVID-19 virus, which was worth 2 million Rwandan francs, this played a major role in the reduction of the number of deaths that happened during the pandemic. Jen Mutoni with more.
Some residents near the Nyarugenge District Hospital that receives COVID-19 patients say that lately they have not been seeing ambulances bringing in COVID-19 patients or people dying of it. The numbers have reduced. 2 or 3 days can go by without an ambulance bringing in a COVID-19 patient, and only 1 or 2 people die of COVID-19. We even go a week sometimes without anyone dying of it. The acting director of nurses and associate nurses treating COVID-19 patients at Nyarugenge District Hospital, Dr. Baswai Kristen, says the number of COVID-19 patients has drastically dropped. The number of COVID-19 patients has reduced compared to June this year because currently we have 22 COVID-19 patients and only 4 of them are critically ill, and the other 18 are still in hospital because they are suffering from other diseases in addition to COVID-19 virus. The Vice President of the Rwanda Medical Association, Dr. Menelas Nyeshimana, says the COVID-19 virus damages important organs in the body, such as the lungs, liver, kidneys, and brain, hence medical services becoming more costly.
We can take an example of someone who has the COVID-19 pneumonia, like infection in the lungs, and the lungs are severely damaged, and they are requiring, let's say, 70 liters per minute of oxygen. So it means there should be resources to manufacture that oxygen for him. 70 liters per minute is equivalent to 100,000 liters of oxygen per day for one patient. So you can imagine, if you don't have that oxygen, that patient is going to die. So now think of 200, 300 or 1,000 of patients in that severity, that category of severity. So that will explain that the cost is going to be so much exorbitant. And that's why I encourage people to get tested early so that the money that is spent on them can be minimized and the lives can be saved as well.
The director of Kanyinya COVID-19 Treatment Center, which is currently closed, Dr. Cyprian Iradukunda, says there is a plan in place to distribute COVID-19 medications across the country due to some of the COVID-19 patients that are dying of it these days.
Those who died despite receiving the medications, one of the main cause is the later consultation. Most of them they consult after they became severely sick, so that despite all the aggressive approach you can be using, but it's too late to bring back the lungs which have already been damaged. So that one part of the patient who died, it's because of later consultation in a critical condition.
In order to keep the numbers of COVID-19 deaths down, the Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamije, advises those who are infected to seek immediate medical attention.
imiti ku muntu wanduye yarembye turamwakira mu bitaro.
Sometimes COVID-19 patients come to the hospital when they are critically ill because they already had other diseases such as heart diseases, cancer, and so on. So we give them medications which are actually expensive because one dose is worth $2,000 and sometimes it's not enough because they come late. So I urge people to seek medical help as early as possible.
Aho abantu bakwandura bakanaremba bakaza kutugeraho bakeneye ko tubaha imiti ihenze cyane gutyo.
In Africa and other continents, the treatment of COVID-19 is about 3 times more expensive than chronic diseases such as heart disease and others. Medical experts say that the COVID-19 home-based care treatment has also reduced the cost by 9 times compared to the treatment care in hospitals. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
Now, residents of Gisenyi town and its suburbs say that parents and local authorities should address the issue of street children who get involved in activities that threaten their safety, including theft.
In Gisenyi town and its suburbs, street children are on the rise. Some of them carry bags for picking up matters for sale. Others beg in front of commercial and market houses, and some even appear to be living and sleeping in canals and trenches. Some of them say they come from areas far away from Gisenyi town to look for basics to support their families. It is because our parents are financially unstable. Hence we go around picking some metals for sale. I came here to look for metals so that I can sell them and get money for food and school materials. I'm going to give these remaining coins to my mom. Street life in the area seems to be not only for children, are seen accompanied by adults who sometimes use them as pathways for begging. One of these adults has 3 children and carries a 4th pregnancy. The fact that she has no place to leave her children while going for job hunting makes her move around with them and decides to beg when she fails to secure for a paid work to do. Some of the residents say these children get involved in thefty activities.
Some of these children rob us even after we purchase some stuff to take home. It happens to me. They took my clothes worth 4,100 Rwandan francs. They steal clothes and other equipment. They even have a black market that later buys all of what they have stolen.
Close observers of the lives of these children say that conflict and polygamy in families, drunkenness and adultery that results in unplanned birth are reasons why children leave their families and go to the streets. Verena Mucheshimana is an employee at Wisengani Manzi that cares for these children.
Most of the times, polygamy triggers conflicts in families. We came to find out that this leads to some children going to the streets.
In a campaign launched by the National Center for Rehabilitation in Ruvu District, it was revealed that it is a matter of concern in the region that needs to be addressed through the cooperation between the residents and the administration, according to Fred Mufuduke, the director of the center. Street children are many in Ruvu District. There is a special case here because among the measures we have taken together with the district administration, some of the street children that were reinstated to their families crossed to the DRC. We have now started rehabilitating them from their families, which we see as a long-term solution. The official also called on local authorities to reinstate the penalties imposed on parents who become reasons for their children to go on the streets. Having conflicts in a family does not justify why a child has to go on the streets. The other thing is that children must be questioned as well. Legally, there are punishments to parents who do not fulfill their responsibilities. According to the figures released by the Rwanda National Police in Ruvu District, more than 100 street children have been arrested in the past 3 months in Gisenyi town and its suburbs, many of whom have been repatriated to their families. Sam Kalisa, Rwanda Television News.